into our second and final best of 3 in the SPL on this competitive SMITE Friday. And I don't know about you, Gore, but if Trolley's telling me to be anywhere, I'm there. That was one of the more convincing format videos I've maybe ever seen. And as a reminder, this is the last weekend of SPL for Phase 1 in our road to Masters. And so when we talk about standings and all the important stuff that's happening this weekend, it's because this is the last we're seeing of these teams prior to playoffs. And it'll be the last we see of the number 1 seeded teams, which right now, Oni Warriors far and away. They're going to play their matches this weekend. They're over at Masters. But then we'll take a weekend off and then playoffs after that. So very important, high-octane SMITE to be had over the course of the remainder of this weekend. And Gore is with me here on desk, presumably because Trelly told you to be here, right? Because he could tell us to be anywhere, and that's where we go. You told yourself to be here because you do the schedule, and I'm glad you're here with me, Gore.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one way of thinking about it. But look, you got 2 different divisions here in the SPL. One of them completely up in the air.
Yep.
The other of the 2 of them
completely decided.
On the ground is the opposite of up in the air. I guess 2, 3, and 4 seeds still up for grabs, and that is somewhat important as we move to playoffs.
Yeah.
The remaining teams from Order and Chaos will be seeded based on where they finish in their division, so you're going to get easier, quote, easier or more difficult matchups depending on where you finish in your division. So there is still something to play for, but the Oni Warriors already auto-qualified into Masters, Highland Ravens, Camelot Kings in really good spot, but an opportunity for that to flip around. And so really at this point, Gilded Gladiators trying to improve their seeding, and Oni Warriors Gore trying to improve their win streak.
Yep.
In a matchup that I think Miff said it pretty well on the previous desk, you're still heavily favoring the Oni Warriors. However, the Gilded Gladiators, the team that found a win against the Camelot Kings, was that a couple weekends ago? And now a team that have added another win in somewhat convincing fashion and have been able to take some individual games. They're starting to build an identity here, Gore, this Gladiators team. And so I think while you're still favoring the Oni Warriors in this set, it's a set where there's a touch of hesitation because we've seen some growth from this GLADS team.
Yeah, honestly, I'm really excited to see what this team can do today, just because I do think that this is a team that in its whole has grown way more and maybe more rapidly than I expected. And it's really kind of surprising, I think, that they were stumbling maybe as much as they were given the player names on this team. But once you got a majority of them here, as well as kind of getting some, I want to say, more team bonding right in through every single matchup, SPL's not very easy. You were coming from
a bonding for sure.
Yeah, right. Well, and like, Kyrmi had even said it in an interview where he was just like, you learn more from losses. He's like, I'm okay with the losses that we've had because I think we've learned more as a team what we're doing wrong, what we need to fix, where we need to get everything together to really start picking up these wins as a team. And I think that's what they've done, right? They've figured out where things have been going wrong. They've been able to repel a lot of, unfortunately for I'll call the Dragons out here, maybe some not so solid sieges they've been able to hold on. And when you're beating a team like the Dragons, that's a massive win for you, right? After you've lost to them earlier this phase. And then when you start looking at the fact that you beat the Kings as well, that's one of the 2 wins you have. I mean, you're not doing it as consistently as possible, but every game has been getting better to the point where I could say that this is a team that is on an upward trajectory.
Yep.
And so I think that they have put in the work, they've put in the time, and I'm excited to see what they have to offer today. There's definitely some picks I think that are going to be on the board. Snoopy's Merlin, as we saw it in this game, definitely one that has to be worried about. Kyrmi's pretty much literally anything. If he gets Sarkette, then you've lost this game. Mm-hmm. So I think a little bit of pressure in the picks and bans to make sure that you can control a little bit more of the story going into the match at the upfront, because otherwise you just make the game so much harder for yourself.
Don't remember, we've now seen a variety of wins from this Gladiators team. Against the Jade Dragons, they win in 35 minutes. Kyrmi goes off on Sarkette, as you mentioned, 10 kills. The rest of the team has 1, and then Stuart has 5 in that game. Game 2 against the Dragons was a massive turnaround. The Gladiators ended with 12 kills to the 26 of the Jade Dragons at the 44-minute mark, but they were able to hold on. That's the important note. The Gladiators able to win from behind and from a pretty commanding position in that set at least. Now, you're going to have to do a lot of that against this Oni Warriors team, Gore, the opponents of the Gilded Gladiators today, because the Oni Warriors are unstoppable.
Yep.
Simply put, they have not lost a set all season long. They have not including the kickoff tournament. They've won 3 at the kickoff tournament, 8 here in the SPL so far. They have dropped a game or 2 here and there, but it is not often that is happening.
Yeah.
And they have 2-0'd a lot of their opponents, and they'll have their eyes on a 2-0 here today.
Now's the fun to start it. I'm going to spark a debate for Smite game chat.
Fantastic.
And hopefully I want to watch this spread like wildfire.
They're too calm and not opinionated in chat already, so this is good. You need to bring out some personality.
So first off, I'm referencing a tweet by the Long Lane. That's Long Lane Smite, right?
Yep.
And there are 2 wins right now, 2 set wins, that should be said, between the Warriors and getting a record-breaking 13 streaks in a row, or 13 sets in a row. Since Phase 3, this is the tweet that I wanted to read, they are the 3rd team, Phase 3 of Season 9 that is, 3rd team to get 11 sets in a row. Prior to that, teams had been struggling to break 10, right? And so it's absolutely insane what we've gotten to see between, I think it was the Leviathans, into the Kings, now into the Warriors. 3 really dominant teams at 3 different times of the year. But the thing that I am going to spark, the debate that I want to spark, is that they're on an 11-set win streak. That's not a debate. They could go to 13, and they could hold a record. But the question I have is the set streak better than a pure game win-loss? Because the previous record prior to all of this had been held by, as most people would remember, NRG/Panthera, whatever they were playing through. Maybe it was Epsilon at the time. They had 3 really big names. But the split that they got that record in, they went 27-1. Mm-hmm. The thing is you only played 2 games, right? Is either you 2-0, you tie, or you get 0-2'd. So which team is truly more dominant? Honestly, I'm going to lean more in favor of the Warriors. I feel like getting this many set wins and how competitive Smite is right now is absolutely insane. Like you said, dropping a game here and there is almost guaranteed. The fact that you've not dropped 2 in a single set is just remarkable up to this point, given the teams that they've gone up against, right? I mean, you beat the Kings, you beat the Ravens, you've beat these other massive powerhouses, and now you're trying to prove whether you are the most dominant team in Smite, but it always comes down to plus minus, your map record, your set record. There's a lot in there.
I was about to start the same conversation of like you do with LeBron versus Michael Jordan, which like what was going on in the game at the era, at the time of them playing. Was Michael playing in an easier time? Like those sorts of questions, which, you know, how highly competitive were things at different times in the SPL. It's an interesting argument. The Oni Warriors have a chance to make their case stronger up against the Gilded Gladiators today. But the Gladiators, they're feeling motivated. They're feeling ready to end a win streak. We've got representative from both teams for a pregame interview. Take a listen.
Being back in studio for me has felt really great, especially after getting our win today against the Dragons. It just proved that the team's meshing really well together now, and I'm really confident in the progress we're making. I was really confident we were going to win today too, and we did. So
being the only undefeated team on SPL actually feels like more than good right now, because everyone was just expecting us to be like last or sixth seed, but right now we're actually lucky on first seed. So I'm pretty proud of my team. They're putting a lot of work, and I'm really happy.
I think the Oni Warriors have done really well this phase. Ever since the play-in tournament, they won that, and they haven't stopped. They've only lost 1 game this entire season, right, to the Kings so far. And yeah, I just think they played really well so far. I do think we actually have a pretty good matchup into them though, because I think both of our teams like to play that scrappy, just non-stop fight style, and we can actually match them a little bit when it comes to that sometimes.
Going ahead to the GLADS, I feel like they have been playing like really well, especially Kyrmi. He has been playing like really different, and he has been good. But obviously we are not scared, but we are gonna play with respect.
Well, considering we were able to take off a game off the reigning world champs, the Kings, I think we actually have a really good matchup into them, and we'll be able to take a game off them as well. I think we can surprise a lot of people.
And you know what? There's actually, and I'm sensing a common theme here, Gore, because we had one of these pregame interviews with Kyrmi.
Yeah.
I think it was going into the Kings set when Kyrmi was saying, look, I think we match up pretty well. I think we can, and I think we will beat them, is what Kyrmi said going into the Kings set. They did end up beating the Kings for their first set win of the year. I sense a very similar tone from Scary there, where he's like, I actually think we match up okay into the Oni Warriors. I think we've got a really good shot at winning. Now, he didn't make the blanket statement we're going to win, But what I'm sensing is a sense of belief here with this Gilded Gladiators team. And when the year didn't start off in the way that you want, that sense of belief and investment into the team, oh so important. Picks and bans for game number 1, kicking off now between the Gilded Gladiators and the Oni Warriors. Gore, as much as I love the gumption that the Gilded Gladiators are bringing to the table, I am still favoring Oni Warriors.
Yeah, as you should.
9 times out of 10 in this set.
And you know what? I'll give you numbers because I was just looking at them, right?
Please do.
Just to match it up because I was looking.
And hopefully it supports my argument here.
Absolutely,
Okay,
and it's specifically because I was curious after hearing, I think it was Scary say that they were like only lost one game. They'd lost 5 games so far this phase. They even meme themselves. Game 2s, and a lot of those have been a little rough for the Warriors. But they've got a 76% game win rate, right? So if you're looking at the total games they played this phase, 76 is not bad. is remarkable. 16 wins to 5 total losses, giving them a plus-minus of 11. The other side of this is where you might find the remaining percentage. 27, almost 28% win rate for the Gilded Gladiators in their games, right? 5 total wins, 13 total losses. And so definitely
the exact opposite.
Yeah, definitely stumbling quite a bit. And just to put it into reference, right, because sometimes those win rates don't mean that much. A majority of the order division is hovering, you've got 55 for the Ravens, 52 for the Hounds, 52 for the Ferrymen, 66 for the Kings. Whereas almost everybody, you got 31 and 35 for the Leviathans and the Dragons. So if you're looking at the Chaos side, it's just been a rough time. And, we've kind of got that from a lot of the standings records, but seeing that translate into the games, knowing that some of these teams, you look at the Dragons with a 35, they're going 3 a little more often, and at least forcing some of those games, those sets, to be a little more hard fought, versus what we've seen out of the Gladiators, which only a few of them have been able to go that distance. I do think that it's something that, like you said, you should be erring in favor of the Warriors. That being said,
leave the door open, though.
A lot of times that we've seen a team, and in fact, I've actually sat at this desk and thought, okay, this should be super one-sided. One team's going to be in control. That's when I watch the Gladiators come in and win the set against the Kings. So
That's right.
Nothing is set in stone here. And they have, if they think they match up well into it, you got to be worried about what they're going to be bringing to the table.
That matchup's got to be Kyrmi v Panitom, right? Kyrmi has been the spearhead, the hard carry for this Gilded Gladiators team at times.
Yeah.
10-1-3 in game 1 last weekend against the Jade Dragons, 8-9-2. So the 9 is not great in the deaths. However, the 8 kills were severely
especially
impactful.
Considering he was like 0-6 or 1-6 at one point. Like to end 8-9 was remarkable.
Turned that game around. Against Panitom, who, we did a lot of off-season talk and. How is Panitom, or where's Panitom gonna land? The Leviathans don't necessarily feel like he's a part of their long-term future, and then other people thinking, well, this is the best jungler in the world, and the Oni Warriors happen to just have him land in their lap, and that's sort of the way it's worked out. And Panitom has been playing up to that caliber. Jungle matchup, really exciting for me in this one. And thus, I'll keep my eye on picks and bans for both the junglers, the Hebo off the board. The Circuit, as we mentioned, for Kyrmi, will not be allowed to be played in game number 1. That's left open. Double healer composition for the Gilded Gladiators Gormizer. That's Terra. That's Guan Yu. Little healing, though, for the Oni Warriors with the Hell. So double carries on one side selected versus double frontliners on the Gilded Gladiator side of things.
Yeah, I'm loving the draft from the Warriors. I like the start from the Gladiators, a very good front line, but what they put behind it's going to matter the most. And I'll admit, I always hate it, especially when we do it, where we put a bunch of onus onto one player, right? I think Scary D is going to be a really big impact player here. We saw some good plays from Inbound last week. And I hate to say it, though, that Kyrmi's pick matters maybe more to me than literally anybody else's on this team. I think getting Snoopy onto something he can be comfortable on is a big deal. But yeah, I think that what we have seen from these teams' wins, or this team's wins specifically, can Kyrmi carry on X pick? And if the answer is yes, they've got a shot all of a sudden. If Kyrmi is going to struggle, then he's going to be lifting up a little bit of weight. Doesn't matter if the other KDAs are looking good. Doesn't matter where their presence is. I think there's a lot of pressure on Kyrmi to perform. Susano's a good pick to try and get into that. Can stick to the Hachi, stick to the Merlin pretty well. Maybe get a little bit of extra damage out there. I really like what they've got. For the Warriors, and if I'm the Gladiators right now, I'm trying to maybe control Sot a little more. I've seen too many times where a jungler goes over to his lane, tries to get something done, and Sot just turns it on him under the tower and kills him. Gotta control that lane, gotta control, like you said, Panitom. Both of those last 2 picks, if you focus on one, not the other, someone's gonna get something good. If you focus on both and you shoot the Fenrir down and then you shoot, let's say, a Hercules, all of a sudden you're in the same boat where there's still a lot of gods available for both of them to work with.
For all we know about the Oni Warriors, Sot's pick could already be locked in. Could be
Good point.
Could be any of the 3 that they've already selected so far. No, I think Sot and the rest of the Oni Warriors have kind of returned to more stable meta.
I think he
They've
did
been
say
winning
that
the
he
game
was
that
not
way.
allowed to play the mages in solo anymore.
Yeah, it's funny is they were winning their sets during that period of time for the Oni Warriors. And those might have been some of the individual games they lost. So we saw what, Merlin solo, maybe a Morrigan
He played
solo.
Morrigan. The Morrigan didn't look bad. The Merlin did. I remember that part.
At any rate, we've moved on from that era, I think, for SOT over in solo. Gladiators have themselves a nice, well-rounded composition here so far. You wanted to put a little extra emphasis on Kyrmi's pick, Gore, and Susano does have that potential. However, it also has the potential to not do great. Last time we saw the Oni Warriors versus the Gilded Gladiators, Oni Warriors won. In the final game of that set, Kyrmi played Susano and went 1-7 against Panitom for the Oni Warriors. The very next week, plays it in game 1 against the Ravens, goes 6-0. And so, one way or the other, Kyrmi's very talented on this pick, just depends on the ebbs and flows of the game. Thor locked in, and so is Osiris, which does leave some conversation open about where each of those picks are going. We've seen both picks in both jungle and in solo.
I just saw an Osiris jungle game, and I can, at least for me, say I prefer him in the solo lane here.
I don't think you're crazy
I honestly think he's got it. I don't know if I'm going to prefer the matchup into a Guan Yu. I still think like a Hercules would have slammed here and would have looked good. But I'm curious to see what Sot has cooking, right? I think this is a pick that, as JMac had highlighted in the desk going into that last game, with the phalanx change, all of a sudden you can have maybe more of a conversation around this Osiris, give him a little bit of power. We'll also say, and credit to you for pointing this out, but like Sot's Thor is pretty good, and so I got to give it where it's due.
I mean, my goodness.
I think I prefer Panitom's Thor over Sot's Thor. And that's how I want to frame it, as opposed to maybe the Osiris, which I'm not sure I like that much in the jungle right now without like the mannequins, versus throwing him over into the solo lane where he could probably at least get some itemization, get that tankiness online. He still brings a lot to the table in terms of control. A lot of slows, gonna ruin the lives. Like, I mean, Janus can escape, but he's got to leap over the wall. You've got Susano, who can chase down pretty easily, control maybe a little bit more. Not as much maybe hard CC as I would like, right? That stun being very, very dependent on the tether. But when you're looking at the comp and the way that the Warriors have been playing, they like to run it down. I think Osiris is a god that likes to run it down, and if they can get him off to the right start, he'll be able to match the style of play we've come to expect from this team.
Sot has a good competitive history on the Osiris as well. Think back to a couple worlds ago.
Yeah, where it's like literally
got a quadra kill.
the reason that they're winning.
I think against it at the was that against the Dragons at the time? Is that when the Scarabs went to
the Scarabs beat the Dragons and then
semifinals, right?
He damn near pulled them against the Titans too. The rest of the team wasn't ready for it, but he was.
Yeah, I would prefer Panitom on Thor, Sot on Osiris. Not as heavily reliant on that early game immediately. Thor can get things going. Sot can get the ball rolling. Something jumped out at you, Gore. Are you ready to?
Panitom's got a 79% win rate on Thor, dude. I was just like,
how many games?
Kind of curious. 29.
Yeah, that's enough data, I think, to form a pretty solid conclusion. And
he's a good Thor player, man.
A near 80% win rate for Panitom on Thor. If I'm placing my bets and casting my vote, I'm hoping it's Thor for Panitom here once again. Support though. Hell versus Terra. You think that could be a weak link here for the Oni Warriors?
If it was anybody that wasn't Jake, I probably would be feeling a little more awkward about it. I think we've seen a lot of these teams lately suffer with it, but for some reason, look, Jake is one of the top earners in fantasy for a reason right now, and it's just because he's making really insane plays, really good plays on the field, and he's doing it on picks that nobody else is playing at that level. I think he's looked good at the Nox. That translates over a lot of the mage play into the Hell. I think he's going to look good here.
Oni Warriors are undefeated, but the Gilded Gladiators have a taste for undefeated teams. We'll see what happens in Game 1 with JMac in Mifflin.
Should be a very exciting match between the Warriors and the Gladiators. We jump into that first game. It is JMac, Miff, and Doug here to bring you the action for our undefeated Oni Warriors team. And we'll call them for now maybe the streak killers, at least, potentially, for the Gilded Gladiators. Did stop the Kings' undefeated streak earlier on in the phase, and I remember actually talking with Kyrmi in that post-game interview, Myth, and he mentioned that the last time that the Kings lost in Season 9 was to him. He thinks that he is the better Valk remaining, at least to find wins up against big teams, maybe at least just against Camelot King. Chat's predicted a 78 versus 22% favorite for the Oni Warriors, and I mean, if you're just going based off of standings, probably no surprise that it's a heavy favoritism to the Order side team.
I'm surprised they got 22% of the vote, if I'm being honest, J-Mac. I mean, I guess, you know, big payouts can be pretty enticing, and that 22%, you're likely double, triple your money on an insert there. The Gilded Gladiators got themselves a composition that I can get behind, barring Snoopy on the Janus. I'm a certifiable, verified Janus hater. But otherwise, Kyrmi, as a pseudo-initiator, Scary D is backline space creation, Inbound as a front-to-back support, and Stu on a scaling hunter. All sound very good. Just gotta trust that the Janus is landing some snipes in the late game or maneuvering well on map. My primary concern for the Oni Warriors is this Osiris, and I want to get ahead of this. I had said it in the previous set, I'll say it again. I'm still not certain Osiris is very good. He very well could look like the best character in the game this game, just by nature of how the Oni Warriors win when they tend to win. It's generally a blowout performance. So, smoke and mirrors, Twitch chat. Don't fall for it if SOT pops off. It's SOT, it's not Osiris.
Yeah, don't fall for the potential Osiris propaganda that may come through from a game win here. If it's a win for the Oni Warriors, if it's a loss, well then maybe you can chop it up to maybe Osiris really isn't all that good. To be 2 games in a row picked and potentially 2 lost. But we're only a minute into game number 1. Not a whole lot has happened between these 2 squads just yet. We're going to stay here for just an extra moment, Mifflin. All these players get things sorted out there. But maybe kind of let's talk about, you know, Kyrmi, the Gilded Gladiators as a whole, kind of their climb so far this phase. Very rough early start to their phase. I believe starting out 0-4. Get a win up against the Camelot Kings, kind of sparks things up for the squad. Then just recently, a win up against the Jade Dragons, a team that they had struggled against the first time in regards of they were base defending against the Jade Dragons for 40 and then like another 40 minutes into game number 2, couldn't win out. This time they beat the Dragons on defending their base at 35 and 40 minutes again. So if we've learned anything from the Gilded Gladiators, it's tenacity as far as siege defenses go. And maybe that's where I can then round the conversation for you once we can kind of get back in here is, would this be a composition for the Gladiators to kind of help facilitate that defense style of play?
Oh, man. I feel like base defense is so entirely contingent on how good your mage is at putting out AoE damage, controlling minions, controlling space through damage. When I talk to the pros, why is it difficult to siege here in Year 10? What's causing these games to go long? Why are these base defenses going so long? And they had essentially said to me, it's TTK and the nature of how the base is constructed in Year 10, the narrow entryways into the Titan room, or how constricted space is around these Phoenixes makes it very easy for these AoE gods to threaten frontliners and backliners alike. That's not the case when you have a Janus. Your Janus really struggles in situations like that on both siege and siege defense. So if the Gilded Gladiators are going to be that team of, you have to earn it, you have to actually kill our Titan, and if you don't, we're eventually going to come back. I don't think that this is that kind of composition.
It's maybe more difficult in the late game, especially if a hefty lead starts going the way of the Warriors. Inbound, though, on this Terra. At least able to help get some pressure up against Netrioid. Jake, a lot of sustain that can come from this Hell, that can come from this Terra. It's definitely something we'll have to keep our eyes on as the fights continue to break out, especially a couple of Terra with Scary D on the Guan Yu. So much out of combat healing that can be done, even in combat when you have that Guan Yu, just to get those cooldown reductions in the middle of the fight. Feels like anti-heal might need to be an early answer for the Warriors and Pegon.
Yikes.
Just flickers out, but he's still got the stream on top of him.
Whew.
But that Aegis buys him just enough time to get away from Kyrmi. Nearly a spill on a Pegon, but he escapes the clutches of First Blood.
Perfectly timed Aegis, great flicker as well. Just able to get out of range. Kyrmi plays it as well as you could have asked for. I think the only difference Kyrmi could have made is holding on to that pool until post-flicker, use the teleport, then try to go for the displacement, especially considering Pegon had picked up Aegis in first slot, but that is thin margins, and hindsight is 2020. Love that attempt there from the Gilded Gladiators, facilitated entirely by Snoopy and that portal placement. First rotation doesn't hit pay dirt though, but now without Aegis, next rotation might be good.
Panitom versus Kyrmi for blue. That one goes to Panitom, able to just out-secure Kyrmi just barely in the combo there. So the Oni Warriors maintain their blue, but the Gilded Gladiators at least maintain pressure on the map. And I think that's the most important thing for this team is beginning of the phase, they were kind of saying, yeah, we want to be that aggressive team to kind of kickstart the game. We want to get in their face. We want to fight early.
Yeah, they did it.
And they tried to mix levels of success throughout, but over the last couple of weeks, this is definitely a team that has been able to step up that early aggression and has been able to get those fights breaking out.
They have been. Looking at the map, though, is it the Gilded Gladiators that are going to be the ones getting aggressive? If it's not Kyrmi, I don't see them starting a fight. Not proactively. It would be much more reactive style of play, have Snoopy leverage that global mobility to shore up maybe some numbers disadvantages that Panitom will afford to the Oni Warriors with his global presence. So potential for the Gilded Gladiators to essentially play spoiler to the Oni Warriors early game, because the Oni Warriors have got very strong early game. As far as mage support players are concerned, I feel like Awesome Jake is doing it better than everybody else. His Hell, his Afro look very good. Might be because the Oni Warriors as a whole have been looking very good, or it might just be that Jake is that guy. But damage output from him, something you really need to be concerned about.
Well, Panitom uses his Aegis, but now he doesn't have beads. Is there enough damage? No, Snoopy doesn't have
He did it too soon.
Unstable Vortex to close that one through. And Panitom will get to live now 2 Oni Warriors who have escaped the clutches of death just narrowly.
That can't happen, J-Mac. That simply cannot happen. At the highest level, fighting a first blood on Panitom there would have been massive for the Gilded Gladiators and their pace. And had that first blood landed on Snoopy, you're getting what I'm assuming is likely a Chronos Pendant finished up very quickly. And instead now, he's being accosted and nearly dies on his own tower line. Pegon, unlucky. Not through any fault of his own there from Pegon. He got every bit of damage that he could have in that exchange. But Snoopy using Unstable Vortex into an Aegis at point blank that had already been channeled. It's not as if Panitom catches the ability. That was just too early from Snoop to catch him coming out of it. That is such a tough situation. The Oni Warriors and Panitom gets away with murder there.
Scaredy ulting the wave and maybe totem. We've seen this story a couple of times in solo lane. Expend your ult, get that totem, get that wave cleared out. Unfortunately, Scaredy does neither of those. He just ults the wave and a little bit of damage to SOT. So it'll be at least a totem that way. Now, eyes are on Panitom, maybe if he tries to capitalize off of this. Because now you don't have that quick escape from Scaredy. You don't have that option to jump up on the horse and run through. Panitom doesn't have ultimate, so maybe that's the reason we don't see an immediate jump to Scaredy in solo.
And Scaredy's also pretty tanky already, has finished up Phalanx in first slot. An item that I think has some serious potential now as well, J-Mac. Not only does it affect minions, now you, the god, are also getting that benefit of additional attack speed as well as protections. For Scaredy himself, it's the protections. For his allies, perhaps it's the attack speed. But certainly a very good item that helps you with boxing potential, and one that I'd expected to get picked up this game, but not by Scaredy. I'm thinking that's an Osiris item.
Right, and instead SOT's gone for Mystical Mail,
which is different.
We haven't seen since, what, like the very beginning of the season when you were running that, Glad Shield, and a couple other just proc items right away. I think Contagion was thrown in there, just a heavy fizz build, but well, let's see what SOT does with the rest of this build.
Ooh.
Mystical Mail will help him out on his early wave clear. Maybe that's his answer. Maybe he says, I don't want to build Golden Blade. I don't want the damage, so I'll just get the free AoE pulse damage while getting some defense.
It'll help out a bit. The pulse damage, not as high as it once was. Not
Close.
Back in the day, but still certainly a little bit of additional damage, and will keep everybody in combat. If you're worried about blinks being channeled, SOT can simply stick close to you and have that passive do the work. Pegon in trouble here. Able to avoid the stun, but not the damage from Snoopy, and that's good damage already. Chronos Pendant in first slot. You're generally sacrificing, but you wouldn't believe it seeing him take 50% of Pegon's HP in one fell swoop. Where you're really going to start to see the damage difference is in this next item. Chronos Pendant's going to give you consistent access to your abilities, but Spear of Desolation into what I can only assume is going to be a Rada Zahudi for Pegon means that he is going to have a massive damage advantage in about 1,000 or so gold.
Stuart's been left under tier 1 tower by Netrioid, even despite the fact that Stuart has at least a slight XP lead. Maybe that's credit to the fact that Awesome Jake is pretty much stuck to this lane for a while. Inbound will use the wall to dash through and get back to safety under tower. There's a lot of pressure, at least from the dual lane of the Warriors, to try and keep Stu, keep Inbound at bay. Now Jake rotating through with Panitom. This could be dangerous for Kyrmi. Stun is good with the wall. Damage output, not quite enough. as maybe that fall down through the portal is one of the only things that keeps Kyrmi alive.
Yeah, Kyrmi's going to have to head back to base. That is a good deal of poke from Panitom and Jake. Just controlling map state so well. The Oni Warriors have really been aggressive, have kept Stu in this tower the entire time, and the tower's not looking so safe, J-Mac.
Stun, hammer, and a spin. One more auto. No, not going to find it there. He's up in the sky. Is he dead on landing, though? He is. The ult from Netrioid did go through, and a pull back onto Jake. We'll trade out First Blood for First Blood, but a dunk in by Panitom for the escape. Means that he and Netrioid will be fine. Hunter traded out for support, but it's First Blood for the Warriors.
Inbound and Kyrmi considering a chase out there, but a wall from Panitom and damage into Kyrmi will prevent that one from continuing. The Gilded Gladiators were so close to making it out of there alive. Stu just gets into the air just in time, but was not quite able to secure an escape route, not with Netrioid with the ranged autos.
Scary D's used the last of his mana. Might be going down to SOT and Pegon, but SOT has no mana either. Pegon slows him down with the Blizzard. Needs just a little bit, but here's Panitom to save the day and make sure that Scary D is punished for the aggressive play of blue. 2 kills now for the Oni Warriors, and one of them now on the back of Panitom.
Yeah, Scary D's been playing haphazardly with these ultimates, hasn't he? Ult in wave, ult on blue buff, and does secure the steal, but you gotta be concerned about these counter rotations, especially knowing that the Oni Warriors had just backed on left after a fight. A simple rotation there to get involved over towards the soul lane. Perhaps Scary D just thinks he has a little bit more time than he did. 2-3 more seconds, or had it happened 2 or 3 seconds earlier, likely would have made his way out instead. Panitom able to secure that one with the help of Pegon. Found. If it were any other support, I'd have been concerned for his life there, but it's hell. There's no hard CC coming.
Inbound doing the best supporting he can to make sure as few minions are going down to the tower to make sure that Stu gets that goal. A roll in from Stu, a double root after, and an ultimate from Snoopy to get the team across the map. Awesome Jake in the middle of 4, still alive for a moment, gets the heal to Netrioid. He's still alive. It takes a Typhoon and an extra auto from Stuart to knock him down, but Jake lived for so long in that fight that it was nearly a turnaround.
Man, Royd almost had the turnaround immediately there onto Snoopy, who could not quite make his way into the actual portal that he spawns up for disengage. If Panitom's 15 units closer or 5 seconds sooner and has ultimate, could have been catastrophic for the Gilded Gladiators. Coulda, shoulda, and was actually, because Gold Fury goes down. Oni Warriors lose a fight, take a gold. That's got to feel pretty decent.
And this is just their play style. This is what they've been doing. They say, okay, we're going to fight. Did we kill them? No. Did we send some back to base? Yeah. We got a few players alive? Yeah, we got a few. Let's just do an objective. Why not? And that's now pushed them to a 3,000 nearly gold lead for the Oni Warriors. Threat around Pyromancer as well. That's going to spawn here in just a few seconds. And look, they're already grouped around it. As soon as it spawns, the Pyromancer pulled. The Oni Warriors, I mean, we talk about this just being a fight-heavy team, a very scrappy team. They just want to go for the fights, but they have quickly centered themselves around being much more objective-minded this phase.
Yeah, they play just so fast on map. First Gold Fury happens quickly, Pyromancer on spawn. But this is where the Oni Warriors have separated themselves in my mind. It's often what we'd seen from the Camelot Kings at their peak was the ability to do those objectives immediately, and then they'd rest until next objective. The Oni Warriors say, why wait? We've got the lead now, and even if we lose the fight, we're not going to lose much on it. Let's go ahead and take a tower.
Runic Bomb and Kyrmi's HP. The wall double tap is doing so much damage to Panitom. Now he's going to chase out Snoopy. Would it be troll if I dove the Phoenix is his thought. Maybe a little bit for how far Snoopy got through. Double tap misses Stu. Stu up to the sky, but he should be dead on landing. Going to block off the portal so he has nowhere to go. Who's Stu going to go down to is the question. Pegon is the answer. Even with Scary D rotating over, the Oni Warriors walk out scot-free.
Scary D's got chase potential, but with inbound and Snoopy just about a dead man walking, there's no reason to chase out. A wasted rotation for the Guan Yu, and he'll lose farm to tower as the Oni Warriors notch their 4th kill on the map. Panitom can't be allowed to play Thor. No. I know it's a joke, right? You know, he's played it only 27 times, but 70-some-odd% win rate.
Yeah.
Games like this where he's diving Phoenixes, and it's not a one-off. This is now a running gag for Panitom where he's going to ult you in your Phoenix while a Tier 1 and Tier 2 are still up, and you simply have to accept it as a simple truth of the universe. It's going to happen. The control on map, the pace of game, Panitom's Thor is just on a different level.
You know, we asked him about it the first time he did it. And he asked the team, he said, would it be kind of silly if I did this? Would it be troll if I dive Vlasbra at Phoenix? And they said, no, go for it. He gets the kill. I bet you he didn't even ask this time. He just did it. He said, you know what, I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to pull the trigger, throw the ultimate out. If I get him, I get him. If I don't, I got the team behind me to make sure I can get out.
And the team was certainly ready. SoloOrTroll was actually so confident in that team fight that he doesn't make the rotation. So
He just stayed.
the Oni Warriors still trying to get aggressive. It's Pegon alone.
And he lives through all that. He turned around and solo to right back out. Kyrmi's down. Pegon goes down right afterwards. Now Stu will be the next casualty. It's awesome, Jake. Credit for the kill. A wall on the inbound. And nowhere for the Terra to go. A banner and another shot. Awesome Jake with the double, but it's a 3-piece combo for the Oni Warriors.
Pegon just does so much damage so quickly, and in fighting inside of his own Ice Storm, prolongs his life. The Gilded Gladiators did not want to walk through his damage, and why would you? Spear of Desolation, Charon's coin finished up as well, working down that spellbook tree, and that's not even talking about the Divine Ruin. So anytime you take a fight against him, if you're stacked up, you've Chain Lightning ripping through you as well. The Gilded Gladiators just not favored in these jungle engagements, now with the lockdown and damage output, persistent damage on field that Pegon's affording his team. And this is the reason right here. What you see on your screen right now, Doug, take it back. That's why I don't like Janus. While you're taking a team fight at your own red buff, getting slammed by Pegon 1v4, the Snoop Troop's on split push duty, and he might have been right to do it. That's why I'm not a Janus fan.
He didn't get tier 1, though. He got
tried.
the Bastions. He gets a little bit of gold for himself. Maybe that can help through. But right now, Pegon is on a whole nother level up against the Gilded Gladiators. Sure, he gets shut down. It took like 4 of them to actually do it. Pegon goes down. It's an Oni Fury started by the Warriors. Inbound is here. It's Terra. We've seen the steal many times, but it won't happen this time. Even the Janus snipe from Snoopy's ultimate going to be off the mark this time through. The Warriors get yet another objective, and well, Mifflin, the Colt lead's not looking so hot. It's 7,500 gold and nearly 9,000 experience up for the Warriors.
Yeah, I talked to Panitom before the set, J-Mac, and I said, Panitom, what can I expect from this set today? What are you going to give me? Give me a set count, whatever. He said to me, unprompted, he goes, 2 games, maybe 1 long one, 1 short one. That's all he said. So it calls to the 2-0 and calls the timer on it as well. At this pace, I'm thinking we're looking at the short one.
So are we considering short like pre-25, like the Ravens pacing in our first set? Like, we'll call that short?
If they can keep this up, I wouldn't be surprised. It depends on this first Fire Giant, legitimately. With the vision on left, you know those 2 are still pushing. Fire Giant,
wow,
looked at,
got it right there.
Yeah.
These guys like to take fire early. They had a pre-15 fire last week. Maybe not quite the same pace, but near close to that.
Have to try
Fire
and seal.
Giant, not even half HP. They're not doing a whole lot of damage to it. Pegon's instead using most of his damage to zone. Now the full stack of the Warriors under. Snoopy goes for the shot. It's a little too early. Helps out on the burn through there, and now the Warriors know the best steal on the map is gone. And it's a Fire Giant just past 16, and Snoopy's going to use the enemy base as a place for him to go back to base.
Yeah, where's the most inconspicuous place to back? They'll never expect me here, and he's right. So he will make his way back to base. TP channeled there by SOT as well, just to prevent that Phoenix from going down, which would have been an exposed win condition for the Gilded Gladiators. Instead, has become a clear and tactical sacrifice to the Tier 1 and Tier 2 on left. They were not caught off guard by the Gilded Gladiators going for split push. But what do you do with Fire Giant now? There's only 2 Tier 2 towers still standing, and the Oni Warriors are so strong that I think that a 4-1 split just favors. Anything they could do on map is good for them, because Panitom's doing things like that. You could even, I think a 3v4 on Siege might go the Oni Warriors' way. So have SOT on left, have him split push, have him distract the Gilded Gladiators. A good call, I'm thinking. Best case scenario for the Gladiators is that they somehow all teleport to Netrioid right now. And opportunity's gone because the rest of the Warriors are there.
Yeah, unfortunately Snoopy was the furthest back from everybody, so even if he ulted, team too far to try and stop this tower. Tier 2. And maybe even Phoenix. SOT still pushing up mid now. He went back to base while the rest of his team... Well, now... SOT's building crit, by the way. I'm going to leave that as a note in case this game goes longer.
No way he finishes the item.
He's building crit at the moment. We'll see if he even gets to finish it. Panitom stops the dash. Potential from inbound as a snipe from Snoopy. Splits the uprights in the middle of all of the Oni Warriors. SOT pushes up mid. The rest of the Warriors on right.
Man, SOT's been on tour. He's just been meandering through the map for the last couple of minutes because his team has not needed him. Needs him now, and SOT's there.
Inbound finds a big root, but he's nearly down. One more shot. It's from Jake, who takes him out. A dunk in by Panitom to the back line, but it's Aegis away by Stu, who lives by the good grace of that Aegis. Scary D dives to the back line, but that's the last thing you're going to do, Scary. It's a double for awesome Jake.
There it
4
is.
and 2. Stu gets the snipe, take out one, but SOT, he's by himself in the back line. He's 2v1ing Snoopy and Stu. He'll die to Stu. It's a double kill for the Gladiators. They keep a few alive, but they still lose out on their right side Phoenix.
Man, that was a hard-fought battle on the right-hand side. The Oni Warriors unwilling to leave the Phoenix range, it looked like to me. Had they decided, all right, let's back up, let's heal, use Fire Giant, use Jake's sustain, probably could have been a bit cleaner there. Instead, SOT wanted to be in the enemy fountain to send a message to Snoopy. And all I can imagine that happened there was he hit him with Lord of the Afterlife, and Snoopy had to suffer. And that's the simple breakdown of what goes on back there. Stu, just not enough DPS to stop SOT on his own. Speaking of SOT,
Yeah.
Bumba's in last slot.
He didn't.
It's got to be Bumba's hammer, right? With Sickle on such a short cooldown, you're going to get that passive pretty consistently. Now, J-Mac, I've been accused of BM before in the past. I'm a bit of a toxic fellow.
Okay.
So I think I'm in a uniquely suited position to break down the mentality of SOT in particular right now. And I am willing to bet 6-4 odds that SOT at some point during this game has said, we can't end yet. I need to finish Bumba's in my crit item just to see what it looks like. I am willing to bet that is a legitimate comm that we've got here.
You know, the Oni Warriors win this set and we get SOT on the post-game interview, I'll ask him, you say, Did you tell your team to hold off on game number 1 so you could try this build out? You know, what was the comms like there?
He didn't even go phalanx. Like that's the reason I thought we've been seeing Osiris.
That's what I thought too. And then I saw the GLADS shield pick. I said, okay, well maybe next item. No, isn't Oni's. And okay, so maybe next item. Nope, that's Stone of Binding. He is just going against the grain at this point. Item gets buffed. We saw it twice picked up last game in the previous set. Now once in this one, but by Scary D instead. He's confusing me. He is legitimately confusing me right now.
Yeah, I think he's confused just about everyone, but it's worked out pretty well for him. And this is what I was talking about earlier. It might not be a good pick, it might not be a good build, but it's going to look that way because the Oni Warriors have simply just been dominant on map. But map state maybe turns around here. Stuart, Snoopy,
no.
They don't get the Phoenix.
Don't get it. Panitom on the chase. Dunk is towards Scary D. But there is a one-way express train out of here via Janus. The Gilded Gladiators, they don't get Phoenix, but they do end up losing Fire Giant because of it. But everybody lives.
Not the mid-Phoenix,
so Silver Lining, Scary D, he goes in, finds the stun on 2, half HP. Might want to back away because he and Stu are getting chunked out just by this
Good
Merlin
pull.
damage. Snipes by Stu. Those
That's
could
low.
be massive. Aegis is there. And the snipe, it's Inbound who takes him down. One out of the fight already. Snoopy portals away, now being chased away by Panitom, and the fire raining through on Inbound. He's taking not as much damage as the Oni Warriors had hoped for, but they're able to take down the mid-Phoenix while SOT split pushes left.
So it would seem 3 versus 5 on mid-Phoenix is the limit of the Oni Warriors. They can't do that, but they still get the Phoenix. So maybe disingenuous to say that they can't do it. Because
can't win the
did.
fight.
Can't win the fight, can certainly win the structure.
Dropship in by Snoopy. Pegon almost taken down. It's Stu with the piercing shots that do it. Snoopy is out. Stuart is low. SOT is hunting for anybody he can get his hands on at this point, but now he's got to run. It's a Sunder that slams in a wall by Panitom. Drops Kyrmi down. Stu takes a lot of damage. Panitom in the sky.
He wouldn't.
Who's he aiming for? Snoopy portals away. It's right
He
back
would.
on top of Stu. The Aegis is there. The shield proc, but it's not enough damage. Stu goes down at the tail end of it. It's just the frontliners left. And Netrioid back on the way for the Warriors.
I think SOT can essentially fight indefinitely now with Stu off map. Stu, the only one posing any legitimate threat to this Osiris, means that he could essentially just walk into that backline at any point, even at half HP. Instead, we'll allow the Gilded Gladiators to reset and defend the right-hand side. Phoenix respawn, but the left is where the fight had started, and the Oni Warriors are not a team that will walk away without their goal completed. Tier 2 knocked down and primed for the next Fire Giant.
Doug beat me to it. I was going to say, what's golden pocket for SOT is 3K.
It's hammer.
Bumpa's hammer. You got that one right.
Had to be. No way.
Okay.
He sold it?
He sold it. Frostbound. Maybe Frostbound?
Could be Frostbound.
His heavy hammer.
Is Dawnbringer in that tree? I will tell you the truth. I've never purchased Dawnbringer in my
I'll be
life.
honest, I think I bought it one time, and that's probably a reason why I've only bought it a single time. We'll see where SOT goes with the rest of this build.
It's gotta be Frostbound.
See what this Osiris does.
It's not like Frostbound's all that good either.
I'm just wondering why he even built a tier 1 crit.
You know, he was thinking maybe he would have had the gold, you know, things. What if we just got like a pentakill real quick? Could have been.
Yeah, what if I just go Deathbringer or maybe like a Bladed Boomerang and I just run through everybody and crit for like, like 150 damage on a crit maybe?
150 a crit when you're allowed to fight forever? That's not so bad. That's not so bad. Instead, he decided to be unkillable with Bumba's hammer. So, what was already incredibly tanky, I don't know if you noticed, Tyloo Assault was hitting him for 15 a tick. What was already impossible to kill has only become even more so with additional sustain in itemization. And it is Frostbound.
Wow.
I should break it down, I guess, what it does. It's like my job.
Slows you down.
There you go.
Slows you down.
Wait, he took it right out of my mouth, man.
He's got so many slows now.
Sickle's
Basic
on a
attack
negative
slow.
cooldown. With Bumba's hammer, it's a negative cooldown on Sickle.
Man. Yeah, yeah, good luck escaping SOT at this point. The only thing that maybe stops SOT is himself.
Yeah, I can see him just walking in.
He just walks in up against 5, thinks, I've got this, I'm unkillable,
yeah,
then
he wants to
realizes,
do it.
okay, Scary D. Now he's going to fight. Okay, I'm not even going to say Scary D's fighting. Scary D's just trying to walk away, but that's not happening. There's too many slows.
That sucks.
We have a movement speed floor, by the way. Like, the slowest you can go, it's like 270 movement speed.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure Sot's close to putting Scary D there by himself.
Yeah, Scary. It didn't even look tanky, did he? I mean, that wasn't like a super long fight.
He's only got 3.5 items.
Yeah, that's why. Okay, I hadn't realized how poor things were going for the Gilded Gladiators. Fire Giant going to make things a bit more poor here. Right side Phoenix likely the goal afterward. I imagine no more trolling. A true 5-stack on the right-hand side. Won't leave Pegon and Netrioid to their own devices. So long as the Oni Warriors can survive Snipe from Snoopy and Typhoon from Kyrmi, I think that is the entirety of the Gilded Gladiators team fight. The ability to jump into the back line has been consistent. Scary D has proven to be squishy. Time for the Oni Warriors to at least try and close it out.
Full grouping on the right side. Kyrmi doesn't get a play. He just got Panitom Thor comboed.
That was sick.
Who's going to take the next brunt of damage?
You wouldn't.
Maybe Snoopy. Dive under Phoenix. Oh, yeah. Oh, he would. And he is. Aegis used, but Panitom will live under the Phoenix. Sot took the tower taken for him. Phoenix goes down. Panitom might just hunt for another one since he's still alive by the good grace of his frontliners. Meanwhile, SOT's 3v1ing in the back line.
Oh, they're not healing.
With a Titan included, by the way. Oni Warriors, they've given up on the kills and said, let's just end the game out. Pegon gets one more kill at the end, and the Oni Warriors, a sub-26 game for them for game 1.
Thor's got to get banned. That's number one. In PEMDAS, that is number 1. Panitom's Thor, that's the P. Other than that, if I had the E through S, I would tell you, but nobody's figured it out. They're undefeated for a reason. But I at least got the P, and we've got it locked down. Panitom's Thor.
Yeah, Panitom can't get Thor again. We've seen what he's done in past sets with it. We all got reminded again what he can do in this set to try and up against the Gladiators. I mean, Gladiators just had 2 moments in this game where they nearly got first blood.
Nearly.
But it was 2 Aegises that thwarted their plans. It was Panitom's to Aegis out at least the damage from Snoopy. Oh, and then it was the Aegis from Pegon to immune Kyrmi's damage out there. So, if only you could ban a relic, maybe that would help them out there. But unfortunately, they cannot do that here. It's the Oni Warriors coming out on top in game number 1. We got to see if the Gilded Gladiators can fight themselves back in game 2. And they've got a lot to do. But step number 1 was
ban Panitom's Thor. Or pick it. Just don't let him have it.
Yeah. Got to handle the P of PEMDAS here, which is Panitom and his Thor. So see if we'll take that one away. We'll find out in game number 2 right after this.
slow, it's not enough to please you. Pretty Caroline, oh, 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 stone cold stunner. She was a winner, started working at the dime. Oh, 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 surface of her mind. To count your blessings, cause it's time ain't fair, time ain't fair. They'll put you down and leave you there, don't make them scared. Yeah, it's the ugly truth. How they coming for you. Yeah, yeah, let's go. It's the missed opportunity train. It only comes on a very blue moon. Blink twice, and you missed it again. Waiting in line for the party to end. Guess you didn't get what they asked for. Not a genie in sight, that reality gets so. There's no point to being careful. Learn the rules of the game before you lose your mental. Pretty Carolina, the stone cold stunner. She was a winner, started working at the diner. It serves as a reminder to count your blessings, cause this town ain't fair. They'll put you down and leave you there, don't make them scared. Yeah, that's the ugly truth. How they coming for you. Yeah, yeah,
Hey, listen up, I've tried to tell you this 100 times. Not getting better by lying there pretending to cry. You on repeat, you can see, cause you have closed your eyes. You say you listen, but you're missing what it's all about. Rise up now. If you never fall, you don't change at all. Cry out now. Have you given up? I will never stop, yeah. I've tried to help you, but you keep reading between the lines. There's nothing there for you to complicate, we're not aligned. You say you listen, but guessing that's just another sign of growing up, you're growing old, your life keep passing. Rise up now. If you never fall, you don't change at all. Cry out now. Have you given up? I will never stop, yeah. Now if you break it, I can take it, I don't need a prize. Leave out the fact that I am up against 1,000 guys. My intuition efficient, cause I can't use my mind. Don't try to tell me how it's done, you haven't done your time. Rise up now. If you never fall, you don't change at all. Cry out now. Have you given up? I will never stop, yeah. Rise up now. If you never fall, you don't change at all. Cry out now. Have you given up? I will never stop, yeah. Rise up now. If you never fall, you don't change at all.
It's clear the Oni Warriors had their advanced GG God Slayer this morning because, goodness, they steamroll the Gilded Gladiators in game number 1. I got good news for you. If you want to play SMITE just like the Oni Warriors do, I'm talking the same level of play, this is the Dolson guarantee. You can head on over to Advanced GG, use code SMITE for 10% off your purchase, and grab the God Slayer bundle right now. You're going to get a tub of the Advanced GG and SMITE Energy crossover formula. It's delicious. I tried it here on desk, and my mind was going crazy. And also, as a part of the bundle, you get the God Slayer ice shaker that you see there on the right side of your screen. It's available now at advanced.gg/godslayer, and use code SMITE for 10% off your purchase.
The shakers are really cool.
They are really cool. They're sturdy.
I'm actually blown away by how awesome these are as cups.
They're sturdy. You know, they got good weight to them. And as much as I use like shaker bottles and stuff, maybe I just steal one of these off the desk.
That's the kind
Is that allowed?
If you're like rough on water bottles, my water bottle, I've broken like 3 different water bottles over the last year. You drop them, they shatter, and then you stand there looking at it real sad. That's not going to break.
No, it sure won't. And it'll stay in great shape
it's
while
gonna
you
beat
put
me
your
up.
Advanced GG energy formula in it. But Gore, let's put some facts to what we're joking about here, and it's that the Oni Warriors, they came to play as we expected they would. Sok got a little theory crafty with his build, it feels like, in this game. We said it was, what, a 79% win rate for Panitom?
Yeah.
Assuming that's a low enough amount of games for percentages to change just based off one game. I'm sure he's up over 80% now.
Well, now he's actually at a flat 80.
A flat 80.
The perfect number.
Satisfying. This play from Pegon, nutty. He's getting dove by 3 members of the Gladiators. Perfect Aegis while his damage rains down, flickers forward, gets the kill onto Kyrmi. And Gore, I think that's just a good way of highlighting when we say the Oni Warriors are just better at the game than their opponents sometimes. It's those types of moments where Pegon simply makes a very otherwise desolate moment turn out into something that's actually worthwhile for his team.
Yeah, and you know what? You're only going to get plays from a god like that on someone that has the insane setup that a Thor does, right? I think that you just get to see some really good play from him. You had mentioned it, but I think even someone in chat had said, like, mad respect to Sot for the, the item path that he starts building. Because when you get to a certain point where you're that far ahead, you really do get a little bit more wiggle room. 4-1-7 there for Panitom. I think it screams what he was able to provide for this team. A lot of setup for the damage from Pegon, a lot of setup for damage from the Hachi as well for Netrioid. Even though Netrioid's only 1, 2, and 5, puts up 22k, and that 22k can't be undermined, does provide a lot. I also think you have to look towards Jake. A lot of last hits from Jake. Gotta take some credit away from him. But the Hell support, you know, if you're locking it in first overall, that god has to do a lot for you. And I think the KDA, but then the damage numbers, more specifically the healing numbers, speak to what it provided to that team, being able to put up 9k damage, 9k healing, so 18k affected overall as a support. That's actually insanely massive for him. So I think the Warriors, like you said, they just have a little scraps early on, but eventually everything's in their favor, and they just get to run away with it.
Stuart actually has a really nice game here, despite all the chaos that was happening around him. Needs some help, though, as we move into game number 2. Worth mentioning, as we talked about how coin flippy Kyrmi has felt at points throughout this year, specifically the Susano pick. Last time they played against the Oni Warriors, it was a result that was almost exactly like this here in game 1, but then also had a carry performance against the Ravens just the next week. So an uncharacteristically maybe bad game from Kyrmi in game number 1, but when Panitom and the rest of the Oni Warriors are playing the way that they are, you got to bring it, and you can't make many mistakes. We'll flip sides, though. Oni Warriors will find themselves in second pick. Looks like their bans are going to remain largely the same.
Oh, wow.
But a pivot from the Gilded Gladiators, Yamoja and Hell, both taken away from Awesome J.
You want something that's weird to look at to me now.
Sure.
And it's going back to the last time these two teams met. Game 2, actually the one where Kyrmi would have been playing that Susano and had a rough time. The 3 core that he was up against was, again, a Hell, a Merlin, and a Thor.
Yeah, well.
And so I think what we're learning is that Kyrmi Susano cannot do anything about a Hell, Merlin, and Thor for the Warriors.
That's right.
They also, and you know, some of the meta has shifted since then, but Susano was played by Panitom in that set, something that he could very easily go to if the Thor does get taken away, or if it doesn't look as good into the comp. You also still have, I think, Hell being, I would argue, a high priority, enough that the Gladiators are banning it. But they are also willing to just go deep, right? I mean, nothing says Pegon has to play the Merlin. I feel like that was more give it to Pegon to take away from Snoopy, and he also has the added benefit of being really good at the pick.
Aphrodite is one of the pick score that I think Awesome Jake gets a little bit more would get a little bit more leeway on. Can you say the same for Inbound, though? That's the question. We have not seen Aphrodite perform holistically well across the league outside of some individual supports.
Yep.
Still a highly sought-after pick. Still a pick that has a lot of merit, but less a sweeping hand wave over everyone and more a specific players have been able to operate Aphrodite to its highest effectiveness. We'll see if that's what Inbound is able to do here for the Gilded Gladiators.
So for a long time we were talking about the 29, I believe at the time, it's 28 that went to a 29% win rate for the Afro. It's now up to 41. But the teams that were losing with it stopped, right? That's the thing, is there were everybody was picking it, and that gave us a number that was, okay, Awesome Jake, Hurry, and I think on occasion you could see it like PPMs, a couple others that would pick it up and maybe look good with it. Was not common. Now it's become more common as far as wins go, but the win rate is still better on the order side, so maybe benefiting the Gladiators here, right? 8 games out of 13 order games that they've won, but it's just not one that I'm willing to bet everything on. I will say they've set themselves up well. One thing that Trelly has said a lot with this pick when you grab an Aphrodite is that you need to stick to your carries. I think Marty does a lot of damage and can do a lot of carrying. I think Izanami does a lot of damage and can do a lot of carrying. And then they still have a jungle pick, right, to be determined for Kyrmi, which is, guess what, going to do a lot of damage and has potential to carry. So I think that they've done themselves a good job of getting a team around the Afro that makes you feel like it's worthwhile and that you're going to be able to accomplish something. I just think that there's a lot of pressure now on Inbound. I mean, if Inbound has a bad game, the entire draft starts to fall apart just because you essentially are down a person the entire time.
Gore, I have a challenge for you.
Yeah.
Awesome Jake's Nox win rate in Season 10 so far. I don't know how many games he's played, but I got to imagine it's a pretty good reflection of how things have been going for himself and the rest of his team.
80%.
Across
5 games.
So he's only lost once. 4-1
Yep.
on the Nox. Not too shabby for the Oni Warriors support. They've only lost 5 games, so one of those 5.
I lied to you. I gave you Aphrodite's numbers.
But okay, so Afro's still really good.
Nox is 100%.
Okay, across
1 game.
Okay.
But it's because if you go, if I go take a peek, see at what's banned
against
the
Oni Warriors.
most against the Warriors, lo and behold, Nox has 16 games banned against them.
Yeah.
Of their 21 games played. So if you're all but 5 games having your Nox banned away,
Gore, why don't you round out the mage supports for Jake? Tell me what Hell's win rate looks like. Or, Hell. We're missing
Hell. 100%.
Okay, so
across 5 games.
So Jake has lost 1 game on mage support, unless there's a mage that I'm forgetting about.
His worst support right now is Maui. He played 1 game, lost it, right? His Horus hasn't been doing too well. 1 game out of 3 that he's won. Everything else is 80% or above.
And so, only the 1 game of data on the Nox, but I'm thinking he's going to be operating it at a 80+% type of threshold. Pele for Panitom in the jungle for the Oni Warriors. If you want to W key and get aggressive, Gore, that is one way to do it. You're going to have some good targets. You want to dive a Marty, you want to dive an Izanami, you're going to have an avenue in.
The only thing I'm a little worried about is the turnaround damage that a Marty can provide. Could cause some trouble, I think, for the Pele, but we've seen in a lot of instances you might not get that damage off, right? You've got a lot of potential. Afro's ult is definitely going to go massive here, but being able to hold your autos as Pele to confirm that damage means that you can ult in, force potentially an Undying Love, wait a second, and then just start slamming them down with the damage anyway. So I think it's a good pick into Afro in terms of being able to outlast maybe some of that. And like you said, really good at diving in. I think it's going to have a interesting time. I was going to say a fun time. I don't think that's exactly accurate. I think it's definitely going to have some challenges and it's going to meet some diversity. But if your job, let's say, is maybe you're ignoring Marty, maybe you're ignoring Iza, maybe you're ignoring Baka, maybe you just want to kill the Afro. I think Pele is going to be able to do that beautifully as well.
Auto attackers, the name of the game here for the Gilded Gladiators. Amaterasu, Bakasura finalize the draft. Gore late in the game when itemization is there. My goodness.
Give me a horrific. That's what I want from the Warriors. Just buy it, upgrade it.
We're buying a lot anyway.
Fast.
Now's a pretty good option for the Oni Warriors. Does mean though there should be a lot of shred later in the game. Front lines may have difficulty staying alive. The Morrigan, now the pick for Pegon. 60% win rate across 5 games. The Oni Warriors get what I would feel like is very Oni Warriors draft.
I don't even think I'd mind like a mid-Guardian mail. It's like there's a lot that's not good about it, but like having that slow on the autos, like you're gonna affect almost all the gladiators. They're probably not something like that is an item. It took me a while to remember what the name of it was because like that's how rare it is to see.
Well,
but I love anti-auto attack items, and I you know sometimes you just got to see it. You got to build them where they can. Horrific is such an easy slot in, right? And I think that that's going to be great. And like you said, it's a very Oni Warriors composition. They want to play aggressive. Gladiators are matching some of that aggression. I think their duo lane is going to be, at least early-wise, focused through the Izanami. That's going to be where a lot of their balancing point is. Unfortunately for them, Hachi Nox has really good clear, so even though you've got an Aphrodite, probably going to get outpushed at least a little bit. If you are able to turn some things around, that's actually going to be massive for you. In my mind, Pele comes online a little sooner than Ibaka, right? Right at level 5, I really feel like you get to see Pele start to bot people. But that's always different when you start to see it play on field versus what it is in like a vacuum. And so really it depends on Kyrmi's start. It depends on the first few minutes. I think both of these teams are going to have a lot to work for. Guan versus Ama is a lane we haven't gotten to see in a long time, so I'm actually really excited for that one.
And whose fault is that? Ama's. That's Amaterasu.
She stole his ult, and he just never wanted to see her again.
That's right. And Gore, I'm hoping you can tell me a little bit more information here.
Okay.
Because Bakasura for Kyrmi, remember that won in game 2 against the Jade Dragons last week, but that was a massive turnaround requirement. It was 1-6, 1-7, 1-5, something like that earlier in the game. Ended up turning it around into a 8-9 performance. Does Kyrmi have more data from what we've seen this year on this Bakasura?
3 games.
Okay.
So maybe not too much. One of those, though, was, I believe, that second or third game against the Kings where they ended up winning, right? So a pretty big deal there.
Okay.
He's won 2 of them, right? So that
2-1.
one that you were talking about where he's 8-9, and then that one against the Kings where he's, if you go watch game 3 of that set, he's the reason they win.
Right. Well, it seems like you'll get to a point on this Bakasura where if you're pushing these games later, you're just going to swing and hopefully run down and out DPS auto attack trade essentially anyone that you're going up against. You know, I think that it's worth mentioning. Probably not, because we talked about it in the hallway. This is all hearsay. Mifflin said that Panitom told him 1 game would be short, 1 game would be long. Maybe if this is the longer game, then that's where some of these late game auto attackers can scale things up. I think the big if or is you might be able to burn these objectives, might be able to get things going.
Yeah.
The Gladiators have been not great about turning early kills into early objectives, so it's got to be a mindset shift. I'm done.
It's a tongue twister.
2. We're getting there. Game 2 between Gladiators and Warriors.
Thank you so much, Dave and Gore. Game number 2. Can the Gladiators bounce back against the Oni Warriors and try and put a stop to this undefeated streak? Or are we going to have another team that ties up at 12 in a row for our set record in the SPL? The Oni Warriors now 1 game away from doing so. And MFC, here's the time where you now say, okay, I was actually just making it up from Panitom. He didn't actually say that to me.
No, he said it.
Oh, he did? Okay.
Yeah.
So, maybe predicting a long one here. Is this a composition for the Oni Warriors if this one does go long that has a favorable matchup into the 4 auto attackers plus an Aphrodite of the Gilded Gladiators?
Well, the Gladiators draft scales really well into the late game, as all double hunter compositions do. But who is starting the fight if Dazzling Offensive is down? Because you don't want Kyrmi starting the fight. Feels like he would just get instantly blown up by return CC. You don't really want Inbound starting the fight because he's got a stun for 1. So in a 5-on-5 engagement, I just don't see the Gilded Gladiators taking it in the late game. I really don't. They could absolutely steamroll the early game through Kyrmi and then blast through objectives with the double hunter draft and then scale into the late game much harder, and they could win that way.
Okay,
Well, you
right.
know, they still could, okay?
Hold on,
they
rewind.
still could. They can.
Wait,
they still
rewind.
can, man.
Rewind real quick, Doug. The one's supposed to happen. Oni Warriors, who were literally just pushed under their Tier 1 tower by the Gladiators.
Who gave Jack Knox? Who gave him Knox?
The Gilded Gladiators did. Yeah. After, what was it?
Nah,
like 15 or 16
Whoa.
bans against it. Slowed down.
Whoa.
Is Inbound trying to
You're
use
joking.
the Bastion, but it doesn't matter because Netrioid and Jake are just built different.
I'm going to
it's
throw
not
up.
just first
I'm
blood.
going to throw up.
Mivlin, it's 2 kills in the dual lane, 1 onto each member.
Yeah, well, okay. Yeah, so... I'm
Don't do it again. Okay, he's
Oh,
got
he had
beats.
beads still, fortunately, somehow.
Where did he use him last time?
Yeah, I guess he just didn't see a way out of that situation. So the Gilded Gladiators can still rely on Kyrmi. He is unaffected as it stands, as is Scary D and Snoopy. I'm holding my breath because Pegon's staring down a 2v1 and scaring them away. That's crazy.
That's the Pegon mentality.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you how that happened. The Morrigan is not great at level 3. Yeah, so Kyrmi could still do the stuff I was talking about. And it still is a double hunter composition, even if one of the hunters is slightly behind. No, the Gilded Gladiators could recover from here. They'll be okay.
So we wait for the Gilded Gladiators. We see how the next 8 to 10 minutes go for them. Try and bounce themselves back in. Pull themselves out of the early game run of the dual lane, because, again, it was only the dual lane
That's right.
affected by it so far. Not Kyrmi, not Snoopy, not Scary D.
And it surely won't bleed out of the lane anywhere else.
No, can't happen there. In fact, look, Scary D's winning his lane up against SOT so far. It's got him low, but SoloOrTroll's also doing the breastplate start again, or the Iron Mail start, I should say. So, might be seeing another mystical. Purple invade. That goes to the Gilded Gladiators. They're able to get that buff and be able to pick up their XP camp. So fighting back now are the Gladiators, even though it's a 1k deficit to start this one out.
And that entire 1,000 should just be in the duo lane. So being able to defend your buffs, I think, a major win for the Gilded Gladiators, especially considering there was no defensive rotation from Kyrmi. Snoopy as well does not make that rotation either, so that was a true 2-on-2 that the Gilded Gladiators able to hold their own in. And, you know, it's going to happen every now and then where maybe you overstep in the lane on first wave where you think there's a fight back potential. So I'm not going to lose my cool just yet. This is a critical time period, though, the next 20 to 30 seconds, because the Oni Warriors dual lane are level 5. And I'm thinking the Gilded Gladiators dual lane probably a ways away from it. The rotation from Kyrmi to secure the neutral camp. They have ticked over to level 5. Things are starting to equalize a bit. We're starting to get back to a state of parity so far as experience is concerned. And that is the primary concern in SMITE right now. With how gold has been shifted here in year 10, the comeback mechanics, the chests, the bounties, things along those lines. Gold lead, especially this early, pretty difficult to hold on to. So experience, the more tangible of the two resources.
In fact, Snoopy did have a slight about half-level lead over Pegon by going into this next wave. So at least some wins, at least across the board for mid, for the Gilded Gladiators. Try and hold out, because holdout's got to be what they do. Try and get themselves to the early, get themselves set up for late. But man, it's such a heavy auto-attack scaling composition. I mean, Gore's calling for it on the death, things like Horrific Emblem, maybe Midgardian Mail as a possibility. If you want to try and slow down the attack speed of all of this basic attack damage that's going to be built through here. Might not be enough protections in the world. I mean, yet Scary D with his passive, Snoopy with his ultimate, and Pegon with a stun and a 2v1, making it a 2v2 because Panitom just does so much. It's turned back around to make it 1-for-1. Funny enough, Kyrmi credit for the kill because the minion actually got the last hit there, but...
How did he know? How did Pegon know Kyrmi was going over that wall? Because I don't think Panitom had eyes on him either. Was Pegon just going to poke Snoopy and was like, oh, happy day, there's a no-jump Bakasura right in front of me. I don't know, that's crazy. That's crazy.
It just happened to him.
1-for-1 trade at the end of the day, so, you know, not a massive swing, but if that's something Pegon's just going to be doing, his game sense, off the charts.
Jake, jumped at by Kyrmi. Dashed by Netrioid will stun Kyrmi. As the fight for the shield buff does go the way of the Gilded Gladiators to start this one out. And try and keep their head above water up against the Oni Warriors. Snoopy not even safe in his own red. Panitom gets beads away. Doesn't have ult, but he's got more than enough damage. Oh, the buff.
And the red buff.
Actually body block him for a moment, but does take it down. A kill and a steal. Panitom 2-1. And actually starting Soul Eater in first slot has already got it a good way stacked up.
Yeah, so his early game's weak, by the way. Like, exceptionally weak with this build. Yeah, that's weak.
What? You're lying.
Once he's got it stacked up and next item, he's going to be really difficult to kill by sustaining through all these fights. But for now, that's weak.
I don't want to see strong. If that's weak.
Yeah, that's weak. Things are getting rough now for the Gilded Gladiators. It hasn't got that much worse in game state. It has gotten worse, but it hasn't gotten that much worse. But momentum is such a real thing in Smite. And it has got to be mentally debilitating to have walked into every engagement for 6 minutes and just lost them everywhere on the map. The Gilded Gladiators now are likely thinking to themselves, where do we put our pressure? Do we have any pressure? Where can we fight? They're likely considering an Oni Warriors Gold Fury pool pretty shortly, and why wouldn't you be? It's a mental stack, and it's really starting to affect the Gladiators, I think. Because we've seen essentially a stoppage of Kyrmi's proactive play. Panitom's been dictating pace out of the jungle. Snoopy's been hard locked to his tower as well.
Oh no, Kyrmi locked down by Jake. He's got his ult if he wants to get out of here. Slowed down by the emblem. A dive in by Netrioid. Not enough damage through. Netrioid takes down Kyrmi. Double shot from the ult out of net. And batted away by Panitom's damage too. Snoopy able to trade out and get one, but now Snoopy forced up into the ultimate just to escape. Pegon waiting on landing, but out of range for the stun. The Oni Warriors take the 2-for-1 trade.
I was trying to imagine which transformation would we see from Pegon. He's so unlikely to let him escape, and it's a transformation into Marty, and the ultimate secures the kill. Stu steps up too far for my liking, eats the entire duration of Shadow Lock, by the way, J-Mac. Those beads still up for Stu, and just gets absolutely decimated. Fortunately for the Gilded Gladiators, they've done enough in the fight back to prevent Netrioid from being in range to go to the Gold Fury, so no Fury drop this time.
Oh, not again. Okay, Panitom doesn't have ult, and that might be the only reason that they don't fight the Gladiators.
Aphrodite kiss to a Bakasura and immediately fleeing from a 2v2.
That's a telling story.
That has got to tell you something about the confidence level of the Gilded Gladiators right now. They don't love their fight. That's probably the strongest fight they could have, is a 2v2 with Bakasura attached to Afro. And we're unwilling to leverage it.
Jake steps up, does get the lock onto Inbound. Return fire there from Pegon as well. Healing from Inbound keeps him alive and healthy for the time being, but man, the Oni Warriors, 3,000 gold up already. Level leads, at least in the dual lane and in the jungle. Mid so far unaffected despite the no deaths onto Pegon's name. Solo laners haven't even seen them since we tuned over. Hey, let's talk about the solo laners as SOT. Well, he dashes away. Never mind. We'll ignore the solo lane because nothing's going to happen over here for a while, it seems.
I don't think anything can happen. SOT can get...
He's going damage.
Yeah, he can get a bit cocky in second item, I suppose. Transcendence likely. But with the Mystical Mail already finished up and Cavalry Charge still available, there's nothing Kyrmi or Inbound can do to lock him down long enough to actually kill him. So, meet with him in the jungle. Throw out a few auto attacks. Damage check. Saw that each auto attack did maybe 60, 70 damage and then disengaged. It's exactly what happens on the right-hand side. I think that's all we're going to see on the right-hand side for a good long while. Solo laners, especially in a matchup like Ama up against Guan Yu, where neither one really poses a threat to the either. It comes down to rotations, who's getting involved on map faster, who's controlling totems, who's able to grab the neutral farm a little bit more often. And for the most part, that has been SOT. No rotations just yet, but totems certainly controlled by him.
Panitom chased by 3, but Scott ults, and he's out, and then a big root from Pegon, plus up into the sky.
Why'd he back off
A lot of damage to Inbound. Jake is now on the way, and so is SOT. He'll clothesline Inbound through the jungle, finds the stun. Inbound will go down to Awesome Jake. SOT low, but won't fall just yet. Snoopy throws a lot of damage right back, 1-for-1, but now with Netrioid rotating in, Scary D's not even safe.
Whoa.
One more auto would have done it, but it's just not enough. 1-for-1 at the end of the day. Sot traded for Inbound.
Criminal back off there onto Panitom, secures his escape route. Had him surrounded. Back off puts him beyond the Gilded Gladiators and allows that Volcanic Lightning to get him to safety. Snoop, you're freaking me out, man.
Don't fall for the same trap Stu did.
Be careful here, bud. It's not safe. Let the tower go. This guy's crazy.
It's not worth it. Tier 1 tower falls. Maybe a pick on Oni Warrior could have been a possibility, but it's just too slow on rotation from the Gladiators. Kyrmi steals away a small minion, but he jumped over the wall to do it.
Good juke.
And the Oni Warriors will be able to secure their green buff. Kyrmi, thankful that everything missed there. Same with Inbound. because this gold lead is getting pretty harsh so far. We're nearly 5,000 at the 11-minute mark. Gilded Gladiators, though, they answer back, take a tier 1 tower for themselves.
And potentially a bit more on map. Neutral farm will be spawning up right beyond that. Could be able to control your own purple buff here as well. So a good pickup by the Gilded Gladiators to mitigate what has become a pretty poor map state for them. I know I said gold's not as important here in year 10, and it isn't. Inflation has hit SMITE. Gold's not worth what it used to be.
Oh, no.
5,000, though, that's pretty significant. I'd say call it 4,000 for the Oni Warriors.
My own video games anymore.
Yeah. Look, the Gilded Gladiators, I hesitate to say they've got comeback potential here because of the draft that they've got. But there are certain places they could fight back. Kyrmi is not going to be doing as much as Panitom. That's just the truth of it. The Pele's that far ahead. But Marty to the Morrigan, that's a pretty fair trade. Or if you can catch SOT getting crazy, he's not tanky yet.
No. 3-man collapse to it. Scary D will solo
man.
ult him. Now Pegon's here for backup. Stun on the Scary D and a turnaround
man.
damage. Pegon transforms into the Pele. And Scary D is no more. Pegon, credit for the kill there. Snoopy force up into the sky on landing. He drops right next to Jake. Uses the immediate beats to get away from the root. It is a fiesta by the tier 2 tower, and SOT is not giving up. He's still pushing in, still throwing cooldowns, and he heals out for his team. And the 3-stack of the Warriors shoves away the 4-stack of the Gilded Gladiators.
Sot sauce, Scary D there. I mean, there's no other way to break that one down. That was disgusting. The dash timing to avoid the stun from Scary D's ultimate, just perfect. The turnaround fight afterward as well, just perfect. Fortunately, the stun, I believe, from Inbound prevents SOT from getting the second kill of that engagement. Stops his Talu assault, but the bait, it all lines up perfectly for the Oni Warriors, who are dominating the Gilded Gladiators. Map state was starting to look a bit better. It gets worse once more as the tier 1 tower is taken in the soul lane. We could be looking at a very early Fire Giant.
Part 2?
Or potentially some turnaround fight.
Part 2. Zot's got ult though.
Oh, he's going
and
back?
And a tier 1 tower. Finds a double stun on the Scary and Kyrmi. Will dash right back in. And now Panitom on the way. Takes a ton of damage from Snoopy, but Snoopy's got no beads. And he can't go anywhere. And it's all the return fire back in.
Snoop's gonna
Jake
live,
drops
right?
an ultimate.
Ooh.
Inbound should not let him go down. Heal is there. And Undying Love was actually on cooldown, so that heal may be necessary. As Scary D is locked out by Jake. And man, this feels like part of one of the reasons why Jake isn't allowed to Nox, why he's only gotten it one time. Everybody was reminded from his Season 9 of when he was playing this god, was absolutely a menace on this god, and everybody's saying, oh, you know what? Maybe we don't give it to him again. Maybe we don't let Jake have this pick anytime soon in the near future. Scary D, he's got nowhere to go now. He's locked in place, and it's Panitom with the killing spree.
Yeah, Panitom just on tour in the enemy jungle. Locks eyes with Kyrmi, couldn't steal his farm, so instead he took his soul laner's life. Snoop, is it you next? Yes. Inbound? Can we get a triple? Cross the map? Penta?
Potentially. Just walk through. Inbound. Does get rid of that. Has to use the ultimate. Pegon, Panitom, and Pegon. They'll both just slam him through, and that's a triple for Panitom. They're a little far away. Kyrmi's MIA from this zone of the map. Same with Stu. They're having a party over on left instead. They want nothing to do with that.
The Gilded Gladiators have been systemically picked apart here. I mean, it's in the realm of silly now, J-Mac, what's happening on my screen. The Oni Warriors have just absolutely decimated the Gladiators here. This is long shot odds, and that's generous to say, to even give odds here. The Oni Warriors with Fire Giant on 5 should be 5 so long as Pegon doesn't lose his life, and why would he? Can Scary D do it on his own? No, but Snoop might have the damage.
Pegon forced out. SOT there. Fire Giant now on all. Death Ball in from Jake. Just misses out on clipping any major targets. Kyrmi does get tagged by it, but he wasn't a part of this fight. Stuart left to split push because it's about all that he can do now. And another 15-minute Fire Giant from the Oni Warriors. Man, if this was supposed to be the slow game, Panitom said a fast and a slow. Was 26 minutes the slow game?
Well, the direct quote is, a fast one and maybe a slow one.
Oh, maybe a slow.
He said maybe a slow one.
Oh, there's no maybe right now.
No, this is going quick. Base defense is much better from the Gladiators in this game.
Okay.
You know, it's not a Janus.
Silver lining.
So you've got the ability to keep those waves out. Marty with persistent damage on field, pretty good in that situation. Stu piercing autos, he can keep the waves out. They might be able to extend the game.
Okay. The defense is where the Gladiators have been better for them. if their early game goes a little bit awry. They usually back it up with some decent siege defense. Problem is we haven't had a chance to see what their siege defense looks like because it's been W key across the map from the Oni Warriors and taking whatever they please with no fight back so far from the Gladiators. It was an attempted push on the right at Tier 1 tower. They back away from there because now it's time to defend up against the Phoenix. But as mentioned, they've got Snoopy on this Martichoras. Very easy. Throw out that Acid Rain, get some quick clear poke on the minion wave. Or on Awesome Jake. Ultimate from Scary D. It's not going to tag anybody for the stun. And the Warriors can reset with their sustain.
Yeah, Jake will heal up slowly, but it's early in the game, so he doesn't have a lot of HP that needs healing. SOT should be able to top him up. SOT's behind Jake. SOT's level 15,
yeah.
Jake's level 16.
Yeah, Jake is higher than everybody on the Gladiators, by the way.
Wow. And
Sock,
so is Sock.
Yeah, and he's the lowest farm. He's the lowest farm on the Glads.
Amazing.
Panitom, he wants the Phoenix. He's going to get the Phoenix. Pegon's there to make sure he and Scary D now will team up. Or, I'm sorry, against Scary D, I should say. Pegon, Panitom. It's Pegon with the kill. SOT. He'll go down to Stuart this time off a very far dive, but Pegon from the sky, raining terror from above. Not enough. Inbound's able to live through. And the Oni Warriors, instead of going for the Phoenix, they'll play with their food a little bit before they get the bird.
Oh.
And maybe Panitom and Netrioid can just turn things back around. Ult misses from Awesome Jake. And the 3 living members of the Oni Warriors can now back away after they've taken the 2 birds.
17.5 minutes, 2 Phoenixes off the map. The Oni Warriors time it well. They maybe lose 2, but Fire Giant only had 20 seconds left on it. Might as well fall back. Strip away all the gold, the comeback gold that was afforded to the Gladiators by SMITE devs. They're trying to program a comeback into the game, and it wasn't enough. Won't be receiving anything into that. Gold Fury as well. Okay. Oni Warriors. I'm thinking the only thing that's going to happen now is the Titan's going to die. I don't think there's a whole lot of fight back here. I would love to be wrong, J-Mac. I really would. But it's
looking tough.
It's grim. This is grim.
This game has been so fast-paced that Sot, who bought Transcendence second, hasn't even had a chance to finish stacking it yet. He has been literally fighting everywhere on the map and only just now finished his Transcendence after he bought it second.
That's pretty good. Hey, it's finished now, though.
It's done now.
It's done now. He's going to get value out of that.
Some CDR, some power. He needs
mana.
Yeah, mana.
Yeah, you're out on field a lot.
That's something you want for the Guan Yu. You want that mana.
Spam the heal.
Fire Giant on the way. 20 seconds until it respawns. The Gilded Gladiators might be going for a Hail Mary of their own. 2 Phoenixes down. Full group up inside the stealth grass from Marty. Jake will throw a silence onto one of the grass puddles. See that, well, nobody was in there, so maybe they're not inside of that one. Maybe they're not even here to begin with, but very soon somebody's going to realize where things are happening. Gladiators might just be able to take Fire Giant. Stuart's going... oh, never mind. They're all just going back to base instead.
They were worried about the back door. The Oni Warriors were worried about the rope around Mouse Esports play. So they're both counter-playing plays that aren't happening on map. So Jake just dashes in. He said, they're not here either. Let's do fire.
I wonder if Jake was going, oh, maybe they were in that one the whole time. We just forgot about it. We just didn't see that one. But Fire Giants, all 5 of the Oni Warriors, 2 in less than 20 minutes of gameplay for the Oni Warriors. Don't get to say that too often, where Fire Giant's taken twice in 20.
Usually this is the first one.
Yeah, usually like by this point it's like, okay, now we got a little bit of a lead. We're 3,000-4,000 up. We've taken down 1. We can get it. No, now we're on number 2, just within its lifespan being up. The Oni Warriors, they take away the last Tier 2 tower. Only 1 Phoenix remaining, and a fast group up by the Warriors on the right side of the map.
So only the last Phoenix here, but the Oni Warriors probably want to play around enhanced minions. Maybe catch a couple of these minion waves as they spawn. Pegon over towards left. You've got so much time on this Fire Giant power play, you don't necessarily need to take down the Phoenix immediately. So I like this. Start generating pressure on map, then generate threat on the right side bird. Control where the Gilded Gladiators are allowed to play. 5 stacked in that Phoenix, and it ain't going well even without the concentrated siege. Panitom and Pegon, they've been AFK in mid, and the fight's still winning.
Phoenix nearly gone. Inbound blocked the first barrage of attacks from Netrioid. Probably won't make that same mistake again. Right side bird down, and Inbound may just be short to follow after. Stunned out of the ultimate, and Inbound is gone. Netrioid credit for that one. Kyrmi and the rest of the Gladiators got to turn tail and run back to the fountain at this point, but they don't get that luxury. Snoopy beats and Aegis. Keep him alive but maybe only for one more team fight. The Titan now under siege by the Warriors. Sot under half. Jake at half HP. Scary D to the backline. And Scary D's got to dash himself right back out, but Panitom won't let that one happen. He will chase him down. One for Panitom, 7 in a row for the jungler, and he's looking for more. Stuart and Snoopy, the fountain's not safe for you, buds, as the Oni Warriors play with their food a little bit longer. But the Titan's starting to hit back pretty hard. Inbound
Can they even end
has
now?
actually come back to life
They
because of
can't
how
end now.
long the Warriors took the siege.
They decided that they wanted kills, and they will walk out without the Titan. Netrioid falls to Snoopy. Inbound on respawn. Will you survive? Jake has decided no, but it's Pegon for the credit.
Now Stuart away. Snoopy is fighting Panitom, and that's a losing battle for Snoopy.
Oh, man.
The 1v1
They
does
can't still end,
not
right?
go great.
Oh, they can.
6 seconds for Kyrmi. Ultimate should be up shortly. Pagon and Panitom, though, the dynamic and dangerous duo of the Oni Warriors at this point.
This gotta be illegal. This gotta be an admin unsportsmanlike conduct. Something, dude. This can't be okay.
Oh no, the Warriors are back in full force. It's still 20 seconds without Snoopy because he got soloed.
Sup, Poindexters?
Inbounds here. Kyrmi is almost dead. Dive in with Pagon's ultimate. That's not enough damage. Kyrmi lives. The fountain is the saving grace of the Gladiators. Or maybe it's also the fact that Panitom was diving fountain for kills instead of killing Titan. Oni Warriors, I don't know what to say, man. They could have ended the game and they just haven't yet.
And they still can. Fire Giant's off in 5 seconds, so if they want to hang out here, they can. It'll be without the Fire Giant buff. What do, Oni Warriors? Do you keep going for kills? Do you back up for the objective? Looks like it's the latter, as the Gilded Gladiators, for a moment, get to breathe and exit the locker that they've been shoved in for the last 22.
They were there for like 3 minutes.
This
That was the whole Fire Giant buff was that moment.
This is the SMITE game equivalent of like school's been let out for the summer.
Man, it has been rough for the Gilded Gladiators here in game number 2. I mean, if game 1 was a tough one to fight back into, if we're 23 minutes in, hold on, let me quick math, 17,000 gold.
That was
between
quick
these
math.
two.
Oh my god.
3 items for Scary D versus 5 full ones for SOT, who bought a heroism instead. Didn't go for the Bumba's dagger this time.
He's such a team player. SOT's so selfless.
It's got to be a decent shield that he's going to get too as well. But Fire Giant now back on the map in just a couple of seconds, and the Oni Warriors immediately on the case. As there's nothing really the Gladiators can do. They're 3 Phoenixes down, Oni Fire minions in every single wave. They got to deal with those before they can even try and deal with the Oni Warriors at this point, who will take fire and they can march back and try it once more. While Panitom decided he doesn't want to be at the team. He's seeing if he can find any more kills. And he might just do that. Stuart and Inbound, I don't know if the 2 of them together are enough to stop him at this point.
It's the only way Panitom gets kills is if he can do it before his team gets there, because you know they want it just as bad as he does. So
I want it for my fantasy, man.
yeah, tries his best, doesn't come up with anything there, just finds a bit of pressure. The Oni Warriors have done the hard part. The base is broken. It's just actually ending the game now. That's going to be an issue. And it is legitimately an issue in a 5v5. They're not strong enough to just walk in and do it. They're going to need to find a pick first.
Oni Warriors, can they find that pick? Can they find the one out of position? Or is this going to be similar to Signs of Life with the Jade Dragons, where they're able to hold out on defense? Scary D, quarter HP, he's out of the fight. Jake rooted by Snoopy. That's not a whole lot of damage to the Nox. The Oni Warriors have enough damage to just kill the Titan, but instead it might just be for the fight instead. The Oni Warriors pushing through. Jake low, but the Titan falling just as low. The Oni Warriors will be able to take game number 1 over the game 2 over the Gilded Gladiators. And because of that, we are going to throw it to a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Appreciate everyone's patience there at the end of game number 2, and now we're getting towards the end of the day. Gore, we are zooming
Not
today.
towards. We're there.
We're at the end, right? We're looking at our first set of the day, and I think our longest game today was sub 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, we were, compared to 40-plus minute metas have passed. We're flying through things, and it's the Oni Warriors in back-to-back sub 30-minute games that take down the Gilded Gladiators. He keeps winning. He keeps having to do interviews. It's Pegon with JMac for the postgame.
Yeah, that's right. I've got Pegon, mid laner for the Warriors. First off, congrats on now 12 sets in a row, tying the SPL record for most set streak wins in a row. How's it feel knowing tomorrow could be the potential record breaker for your team up against the Jade Dragons?
It feels really good. You know, we're definitely really excited to break the record. And, yeah, I mean, it just feels good.
Yeah, I mean, talk about a dominant set that you just had here against the Gladiators, like a 26-minute game 1, even faster than that in game number 2. Is this the kind of pacing we can expect to see, at least from your squad, continue to move forward, or do you think this may be kind of just a one-off situation?
I mean, I hope so. I mean, I think we'll keep it up, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, it looked great from you guys there. Talk to me a little bit about SOT, because Miff and I were watching game number 1. SOT doesn't build a starter item, goes Mystical Mail, goes Glad Shield instead of like phalanx that we would have maybe expected, and then ends going into crit, canceling building crit, buys the Bumba's. Yeah, he tried to buy crit. He bought like the tier 1 of crit, and then he sold it, bought Bumba's Dagger, and then Frostbound. Was there at any point where SOT is like, guys, give me a few more minutes in this game, I gotta finish my build, or was he just doing whatever he wanted to do?
I mean, we played a ranked game yesterday, and he did the same build, and I guess it felt pretty good. But about the crit, I don't know. He's trying to be quirky, I guess.
He's just trying to be him.
Yeah, just let him work.
Yeah. Pegon, for your set tomorrow, one more time up against now the Jade Dragons to potentially try and finish undefeated in the phase. I mean, how much does it mean to you so far that, I mean, your team was one that kind of had maybe some doubts coming into it in the beginning of the phase from the casters, maybe even from some of the fans. How's it feel now knowing that not only have you solidified a first seed, but you could potentially fully sweep out the entire league in phase 1?
I mean, obviously winning feels really good, and definitely feels really good to like prove people wrong. Like people who didn't think we'd be this good. Yeah, I mean, just feels good.
Yeah, I gotta imagine so. Pegon, congratulations on your win today.
Thank
Good
you.
luck in your set tomorrow. We'll throw back to the desk.
Now, Gore, I thought what you were going to ask me at the beginning of the desk segment, and wasn't that long ago, if you can think back with me, maybe just an hour and a half or so, when you were talking about maybe stirring up some controversy.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
I thought what you were going to ask is, in the world of win streaks, are we counting the kickoff tournament as a part of the Oni Warriors win streak? I think, I mean, I do as well.
Yeah.
However, I think there might be some who are maybe thinking.
So what you're saying is, if they want to really solidify themselves as like the best team in
gotta go
SMITE,
Masters.
they gotta win out at Masters. They gotta go undefeated
they're
from
already-
kickoff to the end of
They're
phase
already the
1.
best team in SMITE.
And if you're already doing that, then you might as well wait till phase 2, keep it rolling. If you don't win a world championship without dropping a single set, can you really even call yourself a team?
All right, well, now I have an indefensible position. Kickoff tournament counts. Oni Warriors can break the win streak record tomorrow.
The power
because we
of
start off our
hyperbole.
day tomorrow with the Oni Warriors up against the Jade Dragons, followed up with the Camelot Kings versus the Eldritch Hounds. Gore, that match, as we'll see in a moment, sneaky important as far as standings go. Eldritch Hounds hoping to improve their seeding. Still an outside chance. I don't know how all the plus minuses work with the Hounds, but really trying to deny the Kings a really good look at number 1 seed. And then think about the implications if the Kings win against the Hounds. Kings versus Ravens on Sunday. They would have tied standings, and they'd be going into the match on Sunday with everything to play for. And so the Oni Warriors will look to break the all-time win streak record tomorrow. As mentioned, serious standings implications all throughout the day, because this is how the standings break down. Chaos Division, teams 2, 3, and 4, that's Leviathans, Dragons, and Gladiators. They are simply playing for seeding in the Masters play-in portion, and for playoff seedings, whereas Oni Warriors, Highland Ravens, or Oni Warriors, rather, they are fully there. But Gore, the Order Division?
Yep.
In control right now for the Highland Ravens. Should the Kings win, they're both going to be 6 and 3 for a matchup on Sunday.
And you know what makes that even better is that the matchup on Sunday is just Kings versus Ravens,
That's
right?
it.
So if the Kings win tomorrow, first seed literally just comes down to who wins on Sunday. Ravens win, they should numerically it will go over to what I believe 7 and 3 for the teams. So
Kings won
that's
the
where
first
it is.
matchup.
Kings won the first one 2-0 on top of that. So it wasn't an easy one. If I remember correctly, the Ravens did drag them out, but as the Ravens have said, and I think as we've seen, they've been getting better every single week. I think the Kings, if you want to call it a slump, you can call it a slump, but last week go 0-2 in their matchups. Definitely maybe a little bit of wiggle room that they need to bounce back in.
Now, the Ravens 2-1'd the Hounds as well, and so there's not quite as much intrigue in maybe some of the other matchups, but there is still plenty of intrigue with a couple of the teams over in the Order side.
A lot of Smite left.
A lot of Smite left to be had. Can the Oni Warriors break the all-time set win streak record? Well, that's our first set of the day tomorrow. Remember, stay tuned after this broadcast. The North American Smite Challenger Circuit community broadcast will be going on. Starting the day tomorrow, we'll do the same with the EU SEC, but 11 a.m. Eastern time right here, the SPL will kick back off. A speedy one today, but a fun one nonetheless. My name's Dolson. That's Gormizer on behalf of us, everyone back in production. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Teach it.